Welcome back to Rooster Crow and TV, y'all. It's been a minute, but we back. Hey, before we get into this story, man, keep in mind it costs $0.00 to hit that subscribe button right now. And I even be fair and price match and do the same thing if you hit that like button. You feel me? Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I also want to say, man, thank you to all the new subs, man. You are appreciated. Don't you know that sub is sweet? Hey, alright. Well, y'all appreciate it, though, man. You feel me? Alright, man, let's get into this interview right here. This is the interview between Chris Como from CNN and this dude, John Catanzara from Chicago. You feel me? This interview actually, guys, when I heard it, a few things stuck out. So I'm gonna let you hear like 5 to 6 minutes of the interview, and then we could chop it up, you know. And I'm also going to point out to you guys why these riots are going to even get worse. These protests are going to happen, you know, when we have a whole police chief, you know, justifying the action of somebody who shot a 13-year-old. You know, I get it, brothers in arms, you have to protect each other, whatever it is. But, man, when you shoot somebody who just dropped a firearm and raised their hands, you feel me? And then you're over here saying that it's justified. It doesn't sit well with the public, you know. And then his tone of voice is what really stuck out to me. He has that us versus them mentality. I'm going to get home. I don't really care what happened to you mentality. You know, everybody wants to get home at the end of the day. But guys, for blacks and brown folks, that's the mentality that's going to hurt us the most. The us versus them. They're already training these cops like they train military personnel. And it's almost like they're training them in that way for us. You know, pay attention to that us versus them mindset. Let's get into this, man.
I do want to start with what we understand about this shooting in Chicago of the 13-year-old named Adam Toledo. We have an important guest tonight, John Catanzara. He is the president of the Chicago Police Union. Appreciate you being with us on Prime Time.
Thanks, Chris.
Help us understand why the union wants people to see this shooting as a regrettable but justifiable use of force by the officer.
Well, time-lapse photo shows that officer had 0.8 of a second to determine if that weapon was still in his hand or not. Period. There's no way a rational person can say they can process that and their muscle reaction would be less than 1 second. The officer does not have to wait to be shot at or shot in order to respond and defend himself. There's no obligation whatsoever.
So just help us understand. What you're saying is whether the 13-year-old had the gun or not doesn't matter?
At the point he got shot, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. The reality is the officer responded to a shots fired call. There is no doubt that weapon was used. Shell casings were recovered at the location of the shot spotter where it went off, where they were shooting at a passing vehicle, which is overlooked in this whole situation. There's a bunch of different components to this whole situation. The officers were pretty close by when that shot spotter alert went off. They responded to the scene. Of course, the offenders took flight and left. There was no one else out on the street corner at that time. It was pretty obvious when the officers got there that they probably had something to do with those shots going off. They took off on foot. The officers gave chase. You could clearly see an object, which is the gun, in the offender's hand, in his right hand, as he enters that open fence area. Now, if you go back to the video from the school that shows the long shot, he absolutely has something in his hand. You could see him extending his right arm behind the fence and then coming up with an empty hand. So whatever he had in his hand was gone. The gun was what was recovered, and it wasn't recovered later. It was recovered immediately. The officers saw the gun right away, as soon as they started rendering aid 10 seconds after the shot was fired. But again, from behind a fence to this in less than a second. In reality, an average human being could not block someone from slapping them in the face in less time than that, let alone deciding and registering. That it's a good reason why the officer only shot one. He would have been justified to shoot multiple times. We're trained to basically shoot two and reassess. That didn't even happen because by the time he had shot the first time in justification, he realized the gun was out of his hand. He didn't shoot a second time.
That's the part I just want to understand. Because, look, this is an investigative phase, and I do understand from my own reporting that, yes, the officer did immediately start to render aid. There was discussion about, how their equipment was. And then afterwards, he went and recovered the weapon. Now, here's the part I just want you to explain, if you would. If the kid was responding to the command, stop, show me your hands, drop it, and as you say, you can see from the camera that the kid threw it behind the fence. If you believe that it was obvious that the kid threw the gun behind the fence, as we see from the long shot from the school, why are you so quick to say it was obvious that the officer had to shoot?
Because there's no way the officer could see where his arm went when it went behind that fence panel. It was totally blocked by the fence itself. There's no reason, and I'll tell you, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of a friend of mine, Officer Brian Strauss, who was shot in the middle of the night by a teenage gangbanger, June 30th of 2001. Brian didn't make it out of the alley that night. Again, we do not have to wait to be shot to respond. The officer had every reason to believe that that offender was turning and pointing the gun at him. Whatever it had, you can Monday morning quarterback it all you want, but according to Illinois statute, you only need to have a reasonable belief in order to take deadly action. And no person in their right mind would not say that they would have been in fear of their life in that same situation in less than 1 second to react on whether that gun was still there or not.
And it was the same officer that rendered aid to the victim right after the shooting. That's an important fact as well. Do you have any questions?
Well, if you watch that whole video, it wasn't just him. I mean, everybody that responded to that scene was cheering the kid on to keep fighting and stay alive. This isn't like, officers, they like to be vilified like we're out there hunting gangbangers. And that's not discussed either. This subject was a Latin King gang member. He did have a fresh tattoo on his arm that wasn't even healed. It was so fresh. Let's put the spotlight where it's at. The gangs take advantage of these poor, misguided young kids, and they use them for their own gain. They let them hold the guns all the time because they know they're not going to get charged juvenilely with a crime. But the reality is, the one part that's not discussed now or almost ever is the repercussions of that officer's justified decision to take a life and the guilt that they have to live with for the rest of their life. The mayor came out on a press conference today.
All right, guys, for the sake of 15 minutes that YouTube allows us to upload these videos, I'm gonna stop it right there. But you heard what this guy said, man. So I'm just gonna give you a little background on this guy. He is the Chicago Police Union chief, and he also defended the Capitol rioters, the people who stormed the Capitol. He had their backs. He defended them. He stated that he understood their frustration. And he also pointed out that there was no destruction of properties and all that other stuff. So, with that being said, man, certain people can do no wrong in this man's eyes. You feel me? Certain people can do no wrong in this guy's eyes. That's just how he comes off. And then, like, his tone of voice and the story he gave about one of his buddies who didn't make it, out of the alley, all of that, I get. But it's almost like that's the kind of mindset they have now. You know what I mean? Like the us versus them mindset. It doesn't matter. They're gonna get out of the situation, whether somebody lose their life unjustly or justly. The cops' main goal is to go home. And then he also say that a cop doesn't have to wait to get shot at, which is understandable, to return fire. All he have to do is believe. Or if he believes that his life is in danger, pretty much from what this guy is explaining, he could take deadly action. Apparently that's part of the Illinois law. If law enforcement believe that their life is in danger, they can just take deadly action. All you have to do is believe that your life is in danger. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to see any sign of a threat or whatever it is, but if you believe that, you know what I'm saying? As a law enforcement officer, that doesn't sit well with people. After hearing all this stuff, now I'm wondering why the Latin King want to retaliate against these officers. You get it? There's an article out there, the Latin King. He's saying that this kid is a Latin King, Apparently he saw the tattoo or whatever it is. But if the kid was complying, excuse me, y'all, it's early in the morning here. If the kid was complying, right, and you told him to stop and turn around, he stopped, turned around. Even though he dropped that gun a split second ago, you still shot him. But it still goes to the point that the kid was complying. You feel me? He dropped the gun. He dropped the gun. You know, this is like I said, it's ridiculous. This year is going to be a repeat of last year. So far, the only thing that last year has us beat on is the COVID. You feel me? But this year is worse than last year. And with people like this in position of power, it doesn't make things any better. You know. So Chris Cuomo also said that in a later interview, which I completely agree with him. Police reform won't happen until white kids start getting dropped like black people are getting dropped. You know, police reform will not happen until white people start getting the same treatment that blacks and browns are getting. You feel me? Man, this is crazy, guys. Like I said, certain people can do no wrong in certain people's eyes. So, according to the shooter's lawyer, nothing comes out of it. He's not getting any charges pressed against him. The guy who took Adam's life, the cop who shot Adam, he's not going to get any charges filed against him. We'll see if these protests stop anything, changes anything. But I'm completely with Chris Cuomo's on this one right here. Cuomo's on this one right here, man. And I don't really see anything changing until the people who have the complexion for the protection are no longer protected. They're also seen as the enemy. That's when something is going to change. You feel me? People are fed up. It's multiple videos out here of people, you know, trying to get even with law enforcement. You know? I mean, if you have a animal that's already wounded and you keep messing with it to where you corner it, at some point, when that animal can just turn left, right, and haul ass and just run away to a safe location, it's going to come straight at you. You feel me? And we're starting to see a lot of those now. But like I said, for the sake of 15 minutes, man, they don't give us too much time to upload these videos. So I'm going to stop it right there. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. Till next time, smash the subscribe button. Yeah.